still only the 2 streaming. Did I disconnect? Oh, there it goes. Boom. Are we on YouTube? Connected, connected, connected. Okay, so we are now connected back to YouTube. Yay! Woo. Okay, so let's get back to this. I believe we have everyone there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yay team. All right, so for those of you on YouTube, hit subscribe and like, and if you want, hit the little bell to get reminders when we come on and stuff. All righty. Oh man. I know that Pixelogic just loves me. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you again. Hold on, I'm going to see if I could scroll up here, see who was first. It was Justin Casey Mini Posed. That's the tarantula. That's that. That's Nico. That's Juan. We got 3 Rizray. Okay, female. Who's got a lot of them in here? I'm not seeing. Did I not download that one? That would be perfect. Yeah, I don't. Somehow that one slipped the download. Hold on, let me get up here. Dropbox. Hold on, let me refresh this.
It didn't skip the download. I see it. You had it. It's the bug lady. She looks like a bug lady in her dress. It's a bug lady.
This one? No. It's. Where'd she go? That's weird. I just have a completely different. I don't have his name or anything, and it just says totem creature. Okay. Well, there we go. Now let's look at our silhouette. Silhouette is looking good. All right. Just start off. It looks really good. I like your texturing. You're obviously coming in and getting your roughs in, because this says she has 934 polygons. So, oh, that's just that hat. Hold on. There's her. Yeah, that's me. But I really like this style. You know, it always reminds me of the early Devilman stuff, and then what's his name, Chun, who's one of the ZBrush sculptors who does this a lot, or this kind of texturing a lot. He's very, very good. Actually, it looks like we have 4 files from Riz. 1, 2, 3, 4 files from this. Well, let's just start here with the first thing I see. So just first off, it looks great. I mean, your negative spaces are looking nice. You have some good things going. I mean, obviously you're still sculpting on it because it appears that these are like thorny sort of tentacle things, and these are all still blocked in, so I assume you're going to be doing something with them, sort of draping out like a skirt top as a transition center or something. But let us look at what you do have. And so I'm very fond of the style. I like it a lot. But I would say that when you're doing, especially this stuff that is sort of like the tendrily things that have like a node, and then it's that surface tension, so it's like snotty, tendony sort of things, you're cutting back into your shell here, and I lose the shell, right? Where this is starting to do it here, so this is good. I just would say be careful, and you know, you can be like, Tomas, that's exactly what I want. I want the shell to degrade, and this is eating into it. Great, ignore me then. But I would say that you've cut into this shell to the point that it loses its shelliness, and this is one of the only places you're doing it so obviously. So I would try to make this stuff sit on top of the shell, you know, where this stuff is created from things up and on the shell, and you're not cutting back into the shell too much. And an easy way to deal with that is to duplicate it. Hit this one, which we're going to just make this our history state. Boom. And then we're going to come back up to this one. And now that means that I don't have, I have the base geometry as the history state. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to kind of develop the node where it starts. And hold on, let me divide this a couple times, just so I have a little bit more geometry to play with. And we're going to hide you for a second. And you have your little node, and I'm doing this in symmetry, so sorry. And then, you know, you start to pattern out your tension, right? Okay, so I have my little tendony things coming out, and then they're going to spread, and they're going to spread. All right. And so now, I tend to like inflate at this point, make it small. Come on. There you go. Kick it up a little. And I tend to sort of just shake my hand, and it gives me a non-smooth initial, right? It's, and that way when I come back over this and smooth it out, it already has some of that intrinsic sort of meaty, lumpy sort of thing going down. And once again, this is obviously a simpler version of what you're doing, but we're doing this quick and just trying to get this across. So this is now something that is sitting on top of that shelled surface, right? And come on. You can do it. There we go. Actually, I'm going to cut this off just so I have less. Well, you can see we're kind of heading in the same direction, but right here, and on the torso it works because the skin's sort of folding in and out. But when you have these things that are distinctive plates, I would say you probably want to not break that shell, and then that way it'll allow it to look as if you know, this is going on top. And we still don't have enough geometry. We're at 19 million polys. I find that very hard to believe. What's going on here? Let us get rid of some of this, just so I have enough geometry to show you what we're talking about. Oh, I don't want to mask. Okay. No, delete more. Don't you dare crash. Okay. And now let's divide this so we can be a little smoother. Okay. And this is why I like, see these like little wrinkles in here? That's kind of why I like the using inflate at the lower resolution. And then you get the weird pinching. And then when you come up to higher resolution, they just sort of become creases, and you sort of get some of that, like, just sort of wrinkly, meaty feeling. And I know this is a little different than what you've got going. I'm just throwing that out there. So then we're going to get our standard, and we're going to come in and get, you know, your sort of tendony stuff going on. And I know that yours is more chaotic than this, and I just want to kind of get you to this point. And so then what you're doing is you're using like your slash or cut brush, and you're coming in and you're really kind of, you know, you're kind of doing this to, you know, get your wiriness, and then you're cutting in here, and that's cutting into the hard surface. And I think this stuff, if we just go to our history brush, you can get a lot of that going, and then, but then you come back in with your history brush, and you can get this sort of where you're just making sure that it's sitting on the surface as opposed to digging into the surface with all those cracks. And you can get some really nice edging effects and stuff, but that way you're always going back to the hard surface and you're not digging into it. So when it's meaty, like around the torso and stuff, the digging into the surface works okay, because, you know, it folds. It's a fold. It's folding into the meat. Sure, great, it works. But this way you're getting it, and you can have sort of that hectic thing, but it's sitting on top of the plate. And that way those binders are never really breaking into the surface of the plate. So this still feels like a hard surface, where here you've sort of lost your hard surface and you're breaking into the shell. Now, if this is meat, like if this is supposed to be tendony meat behind the plate, then I would make sure that you're clarifying whatever edge is the hard plate, and then the tendons that are coming onto, you know, if you're doing something like that, then there's a distinctive edge where the plate ends and then the tendon things come on it. But I don't think that's what you're doing there. Like here, it feels like that is breaking, that is under the hard surface, and this is sort of meat. So, and this is a clear definition between hard surface and meaty stuff. Where here, it gets a little bit diggy in as opposed to city on, right? So that's just something to think about. Okay. Now let's turn everybody back on, and let's hide my thingy-mabob because you don't need to see that. And let's go on. Well, a lot of the Devilman sculptures are very similar to this kind of musculature stuff, and I think it's Chang. He's a ZBrush sculptor. I'll dig him up. I'll find him for you. He's excellent. He does a lot of this stuff. Actually, you know how we can find out? I think he has a render set. Zhelong. Zhelong. I believe that's it. ZBrush. Right, he does a lot of this very dynamic texturing. And then also, let's look at the guy who did Devilman. There's a really sculpt. Yeah, like these guys. You can see how it's very, very kinetic anatomy, right? You know, they're trying to get that really dynamic-y sort of, that's a pretty traditional one. It's this guy, I think. You know, you can see where it's very, there are a number of the Japanese artists that do this sort of really stringy anatomy, and they're using the stringiness to do these textures that are just beautiful. There's a lot of guys doing this right now. It's good stuff. Good stuff. No, I would say it looks more like it was done with a slash knife or a slash or a cut tool, because you're getting, or a sharp standard tool, maybe damn standard. Here, let me use cracks. That's the closest I have to the damn standard stuff. But you know, you're establishing your plate, and then he's coming in with the crack tool. Yeah, all right, it might be with Sculptors Pro though. Good call. It's just so slow to do with Sculptors Pro. But yeah, it's good stuff. And you know, you're getting your forms beautiful. I like your shells. They're actually going over and under one another. That's really nice. Your armpits are in the right place. Congratulations. You've made this a little bit dramatic, so the arms are actually pressed into the torso a touch, but you know, it's aesthetics at this point. You go, Shane Olson. That's nice. And you know, I like how the conversion into sort of the ruffle, which is a dress, you know, shape, thus keeping the femininity of the line. And here again, see, you're getting it right here. I think you just got a little excited in that moment there, because like here you are definitely keeping the meat stuff and the shell stuff separate. You know, we do need that. We need you. Control bar. Okay, good on you. You get over here. Right, this still reads as a hard plate, and then this reads as soft organic material. And I just think it makes the hard plates more important if you're not breaking them up with that organic stuff. All in all, your silhouette looks great. Yeah. I know it's for the silhouette, but when you push the arms this far into the, because you got to see that, you know, this is your rib cage, right? You push the arms into the rib cage, and like I said, I know you're doing it for this silhouette, but in the back here, you know, you want to probably make those lats, make it feel like the lats are back here as well. So it might seem that, you know, she's sort of disconnecting her shoulders and, you know, bringing it back farther around the rib cage. And you kind of have it here, but I would definitely deal with a lat here, just so it doesn't look like you completely disconnected the arm and just jammed it into the rib cage. Because, you know, with the breast proud, it makes it feel like she's rolling her shoulders back and jutting her chest forward. And, you know, if you are a flea tick monster thing, then sure, why not? But I would probably, because it looks like you were just going for the silhouette, so you just shoved them in. If you're doing that, I would probably give the chest a slightly more, no, I'm not on, a slightly more pointing up, get the ribs sort of going up, where it feels like it's a cock in the torso. And then that way the arms can feel like they're riding back, and it feels like she's, if you're pulling your arms back, you're pushing your chest forward. And just by bringing that chest angle up a touch, and putting a little crimp in there, so we're actually changing the direction of the rib cage, I think that makes that a more dynamic pose, right? And it feels like she's forcing that chest up and out. And then you may want to consider bringing the breast back and up and under the armpit a touch, just so you're still having that relationship. You know, this can be, you know, alien anatomy, so, but, you know, you're still dealing with pretty humanoid anatomy. You're delt, and then, you know, this is technically a pec muscle coming up under, and this is your bicep coming up and under. You know, that's a long stretch. See, like, this pec actually connects back up in here, right? And you can stretch that out, but I would change the directionality of your breast or pec muscle so it is coming back to the armpit. And then that would put these back and under just a little bit, which would then give you a slightly more actual anatomical feel, if that makes any sense. Right, because at this point, like I said, it feels like you just kind of push. No, turn Sculptures Pro off. I don't want Sculptures Pro on. You know, if this, hold on. I don't want symmetry on. I want to be able to compare the two sides. I'm going to Dynamesh this. We might lose a little bit of resolution, but I want that to be a whole. I don't want that to be a whole. Hey, Juan. Hey, Jeff. We stream till midnight. All right, so let's turn symmetry off. Okay, everybody calm down. Turn symmetry off. That's still a hole. That's interesting. What is up with that? I just Dynamesh this. Let's Dynamesh it again. That button's not working in my Dynamesh. That's interesting. Hold on. My plugins have disappeared. Get over here. Boop. Dynamesh master. Hit Dynamesh. Okay. Interesting. This is all really thin. Something to consider. Let's do this real quick. Inflate. Ooh. Let's turn that down a little. Inflate this. Let's get clay fill. Fill those holes. Dynamesh. Duplicate. Take you back. Alright. You'll be our history still. Come back to you. Where's my history brush? There we go. Alright, so hole fixed. Back to our original thing, and now we don't have all those weird holes. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is in here, you know, this is your delt, and it's your bicep, and then this is your pec. And then these are your striatus, or whatever those things are called. You know, so don't, you know, that compared to this, right? You can see that all of this was in the right place until you took the shoulder and dropped it about 6 inches back. And I wouldn't say too far, it's just you repositioned that from happening. So, but you didn't make this, you know, her armpits are not sci-fi anatomy, they're pretty anatomically correct. So you just need to wrap your head around whatever that means as far as the sculpt, right? And then it can at least look like the arm's going back and it's still attached to the pecs. Right? Like I said, you can punch that curve in the back so it feels like she's actually pushing that up, right? Make that pose just a wee bit more dynamic. Right? Yeah, so I would say pretty darn good. I would probably get rid of her toes. No, I know that was me. I'm just playing. That's humor. Now, if you're going to make these horns, like these are sort of tentacles with these thorn protuberances, I would say that a thorn protuberance is a body feature that probably wouldn't happen just in one place. I think that if you just do it right here at the waistline on these tentacles, it's going to stand out as a little odd. So I would find someplace, let's say, here maybe, where you have some sort of thorny protuberance, right? Or I would just find someplace that is soft tissue, because this is soft tissue with thorns. And now you have all these hard tissue, or chitinous hard shell sort of thing. So if you're going to have tentacles that have a thorn feature, I would find someplace else to have at least one or two of those, just so it feels like it's part of the same character and not just a thorn skirt. Like I said, probably get an implication of a lat there, so it feels like something's happening back here other than just the back being, or the arm just being pushed back, you know. Make sure you have that sort of transition in there so at least it looks like the parts are parts. Right, see, that feels like it's coming out, or that feels like you've just stuffed it into the rib cage. All right. I would say looks awesome. I look forward to seeing you tune it up and finish it out, because it's a lot of fun. Hey, Maracker. All right. Any other questions on this one? Anyone? Anyone? All right. So where is adjusting? That's a lady. Nope, that's anything there. That's a ring. That's a curved surface of some sort. Tarantula. Mike, Riz ring. That's Juan. That's Nico. This is the one we just did. And that's Riz as well. Did I not download it? Is it here? We're looking for Justin. Is that Justin? No, that's the tarantula. Okay. Okay, let me go back here real quick. I don't see anything that says Justin. Oh. That refreshing always gets me, doesn't it? There's Justin. So the lady wasn't Justin. Okay. Oh, you snarky bastard. I see how you are. You told me that lady was the one. What do I know? Meow. 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 I know, it's horrible. Life's just so hard being you, you spoiled cat. Wow, what is this doing? Oh, it's saving on to an external drive that's really slow. Meow. Meow. I know, buddy. It's just so hard to be you. You're so spoiled. Come on. You can do it. Ow, dude, that's my leg. It's the only problem with cats is they definitely will tell you when you're hammering it. All right. Of course it is. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, you bastard. I just got attacked. It is Ma Dirty Blue 2. If you go to materials, it's under matte. I think it's is it fourth from the bottom, first one in the row, something like that. Okay. So honestly, your detail stuff is really nice for miniatures. It's nice, big, it's overblown, you know, it'll read, you have good painting surfaces. Seeing everything is looking pretty good. Is this supposed to be stitches, like the hat stitched up? If it is, if it is stitches, and those are, come on. You can do it. There we go. If these are stitches in a seam, I would still like to see penetration circles, just so it feels like these things are actually going in. And that little raise makes a world of difference in selling the idea that these are penetrating. If they're not penetrating and they're just details, ignore me. All right. So, if we look at this from afar, my only problem here, well, one, let's get her pose a little bit. So right now she's leaning very forward, and once again, that's fine. It's just, I think that we'll play with the pose in a minute, only because I have to merge all this. There's no way we're gonna repose her with everything being like a million pieces here. But I would say that you probably want, especially since, you know, she's going, right? So her face and hand are your focus, and you kind of did it by pulling it out. But here again, I think that you're going to be a little bit happier if you are cocking the torso where she's coming back, not just, because right now there's no movement in her torso. It's pretty just straight on. I mean, there's a twist to it, but there's no twist, there's no leaning back. She's not, like if you're walking like this and you're kind of, you're probably going to, once again, raise your chest and cock your waist so it becomes presentational up and out. And especially since this is going to be small and you are looking down on this most of the time, with all that hair and the hand cramming into the face, I think you're going to lose some of the face. So I would probably, and also if you'll notice her hair, her head, she's way in front of her legs, if that makes sense to you. So I would probably think about getting the silhouette to be a little bit more where she's leading with her hips a little bit more, not with her torso. That opens up the face area, if that makes sense. Because, like, you know, we're looking down on her, and, you know, she's very far forward. Even to here, you know, it looks like you know, what is she looking at? It actually looks like her face is looking at us down, right? I mean, that sort of looks like heading face on, and that's looking down. So I would probably, one, bring our arm back here. This is mostly posing stuff, so let us merge visible. Here's our model merged. And now, okay. So I would think about this. Come on. I'm going to go skew. You can see just by doing that, we've raised her face up, and it's a little bit more presentational. Now she's locking on that knee, which means you want that really to be the center of her balance. Draw size 0.5. I might even try to bring all this back just a little bit more. Hip up. And then the other thing I would probably do is, and this is going to be a mangle job, so I apologize that we're going to kind of weird your model out here a little. This got stretched up some. I think I would try to bring this arm back. Where, because see here, the second you get from directly in front of her, her hand is blocking her entire face. And like the whole point of this is, you know, her little anime, you know. So I would really consider bringing that hand back. And you can see that her hand is going to be right next to her face anyway. But I wouldn't crowd it too far forward. I would get it like right next to her face. I mean, think of all the selfie stuff, you know, it's right there on their face. So that way, at least, when you're here, out a little more, yeah. And I know that I've crammed her armpit there, so it's in the wrong position, but because see, even as you go around now, you can see her face like from this angle. You can see her face from this angle. And she's looking up more. You know, I would just make sure you know where and why, like who she's doing that to, and picking that a little bit. Yeah, see, she's real kinetic through the hips. I think I'd probably get her weight into the hips a little more. You know, just so she's opening up on the face, so it's not closing down. If that makes any sense. Because your detail's really good. You've done a really good job about keeping everything large enough to print well at the small. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's really like the pose is just a little closed down in the front, and these are kind of contrasting wrinkles. Oops. I would probably do you know, it's coming off the hip. Just make sure that you get at least the feeling of that wrinkle in there, so it doesn't just feel like one big thing, like one. It'll give it a little, just break that surface up just a touch, where it feels a little bit more like a larger piece of fabric than that's not perfect, but I don't know what he said. Oh, yeah, ignore me. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're right, Red. No, I have it in my head, man. My first miniature. I know what it's going to be. So, yep, I think that's what I would say about that. Because this is a dramatic opening up. I would open it up more, you know. Let's see her face. Let's see her making the little sign. I would bring the hand down a little closer to her face, but bring it back so it's not crowding her face, right? Because, you know, you can get it from here, too. It doesn't have to be out here. So that's what I would probably say with that. Oh, you. Oh, you. You're right. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. Righto, righto. Also, I think, you know, you got a pretty dynamic twist on her torso. I think I would probably bring this hip back a little more. So it feels, what is going on there? So it feels like she's leaning into that hip as opposed to having those two legs sitting so close together, right? Because you have the contrapposto twist here, right? Your bean. You're kind of twisting out and away. Right. So instead of having the hips just sit right next to each other, have this hip forward, have that hip back. And that'll make that waist twist a little bit more dramatic. Right? Because right now it looks like, you know, this is pretty, I know, well, this is weird because I did the arm stretch, but, you know, I've pushed this back some, so you know, your hips were pretty straight on. Come on. See, that's got a lot more dynamic twist to it if you just drop that hip back some. But I would say, looks good. I know, ignore my mesh mangling here. You just have a billion parts. There's no doing that cleanly, sadly. At least quickly doing that cleanly. Right? Because see now, even looking down on her, she's presenting. All right. Any questions? Yeah, I'm not going to try that with 100 sub. There are a lot of subtools on that thing. There are 80 subtools on that thing. My port. This I'm doing this basically on a laptop right now. So yeah, no, we're not going to try anything snazzy. Yes, it does, but I'm not. No. That would be no Bob. All right. Model is a banner staff with a snake on it. Do I have like 10 different versions of her? Okay, hold on. Okay, that's a ring. That's something. That's a tarantula. That's the GoZ file. That's Riz. That's Riz. That's Bug Lady, right? Nope. That's Miko. That's Juan. That's Riz. That's Bug Lady. Okay, so let's delete Bug Lady. Did I not download it? Weird. Hold on. Johnny. Okay. For some reason, I missed these early ones. I don't know how. No clue. Meow. Meow. No. Cancel. That's a ZPR. Do we have a ZTL of it? These are new. No, it's a ZPL. No. Okay. Fine. Ah, cat. Camera. Sorry, it's very hard to use my keyboard with you sitting on top of my keyboard. Okay, this is going to take a couple minutes. Who's after that? No one, Henry? We just get to sit here for a few minutes and wait? Just looking at me like that. I know. Do we have... well, couldn't you give me one that we have next? Hold on, here. We'll just look at some of Riz. Is Riz here? Do Juan? Okay. All right, Juan. Here's Juan. All right. Hey, at least her face is there this time. That's good. All right, her hand is touching the basket. That's good. Yes, please jump on the mic. Give me someone to talk to. You pinch the fabric in the armpits. That's nice. So everyone, we've gone through critique on this one before in office hours for my students. So I'm looking to see if he did what we said to do.
Hey, hello, how are you?
Very good.
How's everything going?
Oh, very good, actually. I mean, slowly but surely, Slowly but surely.
Right on. So what I did is that I took your advice.
Mm-hmm.
I went through all the process, all the little technicalities here and there with the sizes. And I decided, I'm going to bring it now before printing it just to showcase it or what have you.
Yeah, no, of course. Like how you integrated the folds at the waist. That's nice. You did a good job with the armpit stuff. That looks good.
Thanks. I was struggling with the hand. Then I talked with Henry, and Henry gave me a good idea of how to boolean. Because now I have the basket and the hand in one subtool.
Sure.
And then the wrist and the body on a different one.
Yeah. No, that works without a doubt. I like all your little skulls. They're adorable. Now, only thing I see here, no, I guess it is touching up there, isn't it? Does it say? You have full contact here at the bottom, but it doesn't look like you have contact at the top, but it's contacting back here. What does it say? It looked like there was airspace here. It would be weight down, but it's not airspace, so you're fine. I'll let you get away with that one. And your hair's looking okay.
So what I did is that actually I was showing it to Henry, and Henry was like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna have a hell of a time printing all those flowers." So I have like the grab in one tool, and then all the flowers on a different ball in a different subtool.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so far I have like combined like maybe like 10 pieces or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's going to be, I mean, it's a hell of a print, you know. Thing is that, you know, if you just print it where all those flowers are, you know, kind of pointed up at V's, you can support the backside of it and it should
Yeah,
be
and
okay.
then inside of the wrap, like I don't care of the supports, right?
Yeah, no, it's going to, I would just inflate the living hijibis out of all of that and make sure it's all touching on the inside of that. Hold on, let's look at flowers real quick. There. Yeah, exactly. This is all just solid, so you're not going to see anything. I mean, the one thing you might want to consider doing is with inflate, just coming up in here and on the back sides of these. So you can be very clever. Are these all separate poly groups? No. So let's group
No,
front here. And so now you can see you kind of got rid of your back sides. And just look at where things are. And let's flip it. So I would say what you may want to do, and it could be just sort of, oop, no, that's not what I'm doing. Take it one little section at a time. Come back in here, and with inflate, just inflate some of this stuff together.
hmm
Because if you're not going to see it, there's no point in having your printer struggle with it, you know. Or
yeah.
really, it's you struggling with it when it comes down to, you know, popping your supports, because
Yeah.
you know just doing little things like this isn't really going to show up. I mean, what's depends on how big this is, right? You know, if this is,
Well, that's the issue. I'm debating to print it either 40 or up to 70 centimeters.
oh well, 70 centimeters, leave everything open because you'll see it. You know, if it's 100 millimeters, you know, you're never going to see any of this stuff. So
Yeah.
um, you know, if you're going to do it bigger, then I wouldn't deal with what I'm saying to deal with right now. But if you're going to make it even 150, 200 mil, you know, this is still going to be what, like maybe 25 mil, you know.
Yeah.
And so I would come in and just sort of, and you can see it's not really changing the look of it from here, right? And just get rid of some of the airspace.
Uh-huh.
Like, see little things like that. You're never going to see that, right? Just kind of come in.
Yeah. And then it's already decimated, so it's just gonna take me one brush stroke and
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can see
send to
that.
the software.
I mean, this isn't taking me long at all. And
Uh-huh.
it just comes down to making sure that you're just getting rid of unneeded airspace, right? You know,
Yeah.
because once again, you can't tell any of that's full. And, you know, especially if you're going to paint it, you just black wash it once and all that's filled up, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, just come in with your next little strip of area and just see what, you know, some of that's actually pretty far out. I don't know if you're going to get away with filling all of that, but maybe get some of that stuff touching there. And touch. You know, just come in and find those places that you can solidify that aren't going to look, because more than it being a problem to print, I mean, you print it, it's not going to, you know, you can print those mesh rings, right? You know, that are millimeter wires. It's
Hmm.
really the key of how much effort you're going to do to um, de-sprue it. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I would make sure that somewhere along the way, all of these flowers are at least touching each other in one place or another. And then that way you're getting the strength of that web of flowers um, touching, where all of that is still one piece. Because, like, you know, this flower right here wasn't touching anything before I did that. You
yeah.
de-sprue that, that's going to snap off. You know, you're going to, all these things are going to fall to pieces. Not these things. You know, these are things that are coming up from the center, so that's easier to deal with. But
Hmm.
just, you know, the flowers themselves, I would just try to make sure, even if you're not closing up the webs, right? Just make sure that all of them touch something somewhere, so they're not just floating out there in space, where you have a solid contact to the stem area no matter what at some point. And, you know, just get them to where they're, you know, just touching. And that way you can have that airspace, but you're not completely, you know, these things aren't just levers that are going to just, you know, they're not going to be able to leverage the head of the flower away from the stem when you start to de-sprue. So,
Yeah.
or de-support, you know, so I would come in and just make sure that every flower at least has one or two contact points with another flower or stem. And then that way you're going to have a much more stable structure when you start to de-support this thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Because pretty much my first print I was planning to print that first, see how it goes, and pretty much fight one piece at a time.
Yeah, I mean, just coming through and just doing that is going to help you a ton to keep those pieces together where they're not just going to fly apart. Just keep it in an interweaving web, because you don't want your supports to have more structure than your part, because then,
Hmm.
you know, what breaks? The thing with the less structure. What's that? Oh, everything you've done, you know. So that's where, oh my god, cat, really? just, just like lap invading, and then it keeps using her back leg and pushing my keyboard off my lap. It's like, she's like, this
Nice.
thing's cramping me, man. Um, I think you might also want to consider. Boop, come on, give me my lasso. Boop. Make sure this arm. What was that? W. Come on. You can do it. Yep. Rotate that in so it's actually touching the flowers, right? Because that's supposed to be holding the flowers. So make sure that it is holding the flowers. It's not just floating out there in space, right? So now that arm is holding those flowers. And I would probably say that you stop that. Even with the decimated, my poor machine's like, right? You might want to think about it, you know, because normally when you're holding something, you don't just rest it on your forearm. Right? So you may want to consider doing something like cocking the hand over and move. Where it's resting in her hand somehow. You know, like she's actually holding it. So now we're going to take move. We're going to grab you and drag you back. Drag you up.
Yeah, makes it look more dynamic instead of being just a cone.
Right. You know, and, you know, I mean, I guess you can. Like if you're carrying a newspaper, sure, you might tuck it in your armpit. But very rarely are you going to be carrying something, leaning it on your bicep, and then holding it just with your forearm and having this hand flop. It's just your intrinsic neat desire. You know, you're going to bend that hand up, hold the bottom of it, and try
Yeah,
to
great, Ollie.
stabilize it. You know, and then you can bend those fingers up maybe or something like that. But I think that makes that interaction with the flowers a little bit more kinetic. And here again, you know, where would that be leaning? It's going to be leaning on your bicep, right? Because you're going to pinch it between your forearm and your hand, and it's leaning backwards against your bicep. So you might want to take this stuff and move it back a little. Right, we tilted a little, whatever. I might have dragged that back too far, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And see, that way it's actually touching her arm. It's doing what she would be doing, right? She'd have it wedged in between her forearm, leaning against her bicep. Otherwise, you know, you're talking about holding it just with your forearm and just balancing up. You know, that doesn't make a lot of kinetic sense. Oh my God, cat, really? Come on. Stop pushing my keyboard off. There you go. You jerk. And did you just cut those eyelashes into the skull? I think you did, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Bad dog.
Hey, but you should be proud of me. I didn't use the normal dem standard.
Killing me.
For some reason, I still have that on my UI. I should just get rid of that tool. I mean, it's alright for drafting, but it just gets away.
Some people like it. I mean, you know, if you use it, then hallelujah. But, hold on. That's what we're looking for. And I'm just going to save this real quick. History. Nope, that is totally not even the right brush. What am I doing? There we go. Okay, I see. This has been decimated. Sculptures Pro. Give me some geometry here. So it was weird. Yesterday we had all kinds of fireworks in LA. It was like the week before the 4th of July fireworks. I don't even know what that's about. What's that about? Okay. Actually, let's duplicate that one since it's smooth. And now I'm going to stop. No. And now we're gonna come on. going. Take you. You're now our history state. Take you. Hide you. We're going to come back in. And then, you can always take your history brush, come back in, and clean these up so they're sharp. Turn Sculptures Pro off. And then when you come back and paint this, it'll look like eyelashes and not just big dents in her face.
Yeah, I see that.
Eyelashes, dents in her face. Bad dog. All right.
Oh god, yeah. Those is way better.
All right. And now let's see. Anything else? I mean, it's a stylized skull. I'm not going to start ripping you on your skull because she's smiling, so I understand why she's like that. You may want, though, instead of it just being a line there, clay fill behind it a little. Well, and then that'll make it feel like a whole lump, right? Instead of it just being a simple line, if you're clay filling up and under that, it gives you a little bit more of that skull feeling.
Yeah.
Where these are ridges, not just lines, And that'll punch that up a little bit more. Your bow and hair looks great. If you're going to put this linear detail in the top of her hair, right, you may want to at least put some in the lower hair. Let's see, what do we have here?
Okay. And the reason why I left it like flat is because my idea was, okay, I need a little bit of breathing room between the flowers and the head.
No, I feel you. But I'm not saying necessarily, it might just be
Yeah, just a subtle punch.
doing something like that where, only because, you've really established the hair as stringy hair, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of linear hair detail. And I just think that these being smooth make it feel like it's not the hair, right? It's now something different. And so, even just putting a couple lines in it where it's maybe not as linear, but you can see now that actually pops the bow out and the hair looks like hair.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And that'll also help frame the smoothness of the skull. Will now become a little bit more important because it's being framed by texture. Right. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. And see how the hair, the face now feels, because it's not textured.
Mm-hmm.
The earrings aren't textured, and the bows aren't textured. It allows that stuff to become more important now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is the answer. Yeah, no, other than that, your armpits, your fabric looks good. You did a good job incorporating your wrinkles. Your skulls and stuff look fine. Your flowers here, good. Your little Levy things and your little carnation thingies, or whatever those things are called.
So I was telling my wife, oh, you know what? I'm gonna put a little devil in the bottom, like a fat devil with a bottle of tequila.
Nice.
And but then my wife was like, Juan, you're taking it too far. Just get it on. Get it done. Just wrap it up.
I was
So
thinking
yeah, I took her advice.
you should uh, you should get a newspaper cover that's really snarky and put the make this newspaper, so they
Yeah,
read
yeah,
the
yeah.
newspaper. If you're gonna go there, I mean, you might as well just go all the way.
Oh god.
Nope, I like it. Looks great, and the
Awesome.
changes definitely help. But yeah, I would definitely I would get this arm actually holding the flowers. Do your hair. I think those are the two big ones.
Cool, cool. And I have a feeling that I can do those ones already on the decimated file, so I don't have to pre-boolean and what have you.
Yeah, just divide it up.
Yeah.
Just divide it, and you could take that decimated file, divide it up, and then just redecimate it.
Okay, I
Because
see.
it's just lines. I mean, if we come here, you're decimated to about 1,000,000. You know, you can um, just paint these out and make them a different subtool. Because right now all this is merged into one, right?
For the head is
Yeah,
one, yes.
yeah, exactly. So, you can come in here. Hate it when I change my mask brush. I never remember to put it back. Um, Stop it. All right. Get your hair. No, just mask the whole thing. Don't care. And then mask the whole thing. You can also use slice, honestly. But this works just as well. Except you need to be a little more careful with your masking than I'm being at the moment. Okay, now we'll go back to lasso. Because I'm just being silly. Control W. And now, group split. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, what did I just do? I auto group before that. All right, so that's why you always put it into a folder before you group split. Because you wind up with all this garbage that and so now you have this, close holes, and then you can divide this up so you have enough geometry to futz with, come back in, do your hair, and then just redecimate it,
Mhm.
and then you can just join it back together. What are you doing? Oh,
Actually, now I have a question about it. I'm guessing if I'm taking the braids, if I divide it, am I smoothing the edges? Then when I blend the two parts together, I'm gonna have holes.
you mean when you blend these back? Well, I would. Well, what I would do is, I would definitely come back in and just like with clay buildup or something, just come here and build the surface up, just so it's not flush. And then when you, all right,
Okay.
so hold on, we're going to do our lovely little trick here. We have to now go delete folder. And now we're just going to come in and make the things we want visible. So to everyone, if you ever do this, I do it all the time because I'm a dim rod. Turn the things, like I just blew that model up and now we have like 100 things in there that we don't want. And now here looking at it, everybody, we're not missing any parts. Come here. We turn on W, we turn this on, and now we come here and go new folder. It's going to ask, several of them are, do you want to go? You go yes, and you name that whatever you name it. And so now all the good parts are in this folder, and we now know that all this is garbage. This is all that crap. So that's an easy way of getting the stuff you do want separated out when you blow up models,
Hmm.
because this is all just chatter. And now we can do the same thing. We can go boom, turn her off. We're going to come to you and we're going to just go, these are all on. We go boop, we go new folder, we go yes, yes. And now all the garbage is in that folder, right? Garbage in this folder, this garbage folder, and now you come in here and you go delete all. Okay. And now you can delete this folder, and you have all your good parts, and you've separated out all that blown out garbage. Now let's go back to our head real quick. We got her head, her braids. And so we're here, we're going to come back to her head, hide this for a second, close holes. Did we hit close holes? Yeah. And here again, we're just going to come in here. We are going to take clay buildup, and I'm just going to go over the surface a little. And that just makes sure that they're not coplanar surfaces,
Hmm.
right? Now merge down. Right? And now you can remesh by union or remesh by dynamesh and join it. Right?
Okay, yeah, I see.
Why? This button has stopped working. That's really annoying. Hasn't it? That's not joined yet. Nope. Weirdo. Oh, well, you might want to do more resolution than that when you dynamesh it. But, ridiculous. It never ends. I love that plugin, and it's so hard to control Dynamesh without this plugin, but it's random. This last update broke the Dynamesh plugin. Makes me very sad. See, I can sit here and hit this, and nothing happens. Oh, was it Dynameshing that? Wow, look at that. It worked that time. So basically, you just have to hit the button 300,000 times. That's the trick. And look, it took us to the right one. 1.9 million Dynamesh. All right, so there you go. And now, obviously after all that mess, I would go auto groups, I would come here, hold down Control Shift, tap this, and you can see that we do not have to split hidden or anything. That's good. Do it one more time just to make sure. Yep, nope. There's no mess in there. You have a show. You leaving, Wrath? Nah. Right on, right on. Okay. Any other questions, my friend?
No, all good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
See you, Wrath. Oh my God, cat. Okay, so now we go. No. Did I not download all this? What? Oh. Hold on. Did I actually allow quit save to go through with all of those? Yeah, here. No. I know. I thought this is what I just downloaded. Here we go. Look, it's still a ZPR. Where's that old? Oh, that's right, that's right, that's right. I know, I keep forgetting. Load tool from project. I forget that I can do that. It's been years. I completely, absolutely, and utterly forget to do that every time. Okay. So let's try that again. I know. Yeah, well, I don't know if I can do it, but I got it. We got it. Here we are. So here is our snake totem. Let's frame. Why is this? No. Stop acting weird. This is only like 500,000 poly. Stop acting bizarro. There we go. Goodness gracious. All right. Snake totem banner. Is that what we got here? Look, we lost 5 viewers, me sitting there trying to figure out how to open this file. The first thing that I see, and once again, since this is a snake banner, might not be an issue, but snake scales don't go that way on snakes. They go this way. But you could always say that this is a stylized snake banner, and that's the way they wanted to do it. And then you would be right, and I'd have nothing to say about it. Okay, so snake scale's going the wrong way. Now let us see. So this back here is obviously fabric. Looks like fabric, that's good. Wood looks like wood, that's good. One thing I would say on your wood, this is a good pattern, it's nice. I would still probably come through with crumple. I have a ton of brush kits that I opened up, so I have like 7 trillion brushes right now. There it is, crumple. I would still come back in with crumple and just kind of do a little shaking on it, and it just gives it a little bit of planularity that makes things look just a touch more like wood. Oh, this is applied noise. That's why it's doing that. Ah, see? This noise has not been applied. That's why I can take this and the pattern changes. That explains that. Okay. Well, crumple might help you a little, might not at this point. It's kind of fun sculpting through the layers. I like that. Now, is this sort of looks like it's meant to be something other than fabric. So I'm going to say this is probably a sculpted element, not fabric. And since you have fabric here, I would do something with this to keep it from looking like fabric and make it look a bit more like a sculpted element. And you can do something just as simple as coming around and just making some of this stuff feel just a touch more intentional. And that intentionality will keep it from feeling soft and will keep it from looking like fabric. Now you could say that well, it's supposed to look like fabric, and then I'll be like, ew, okay, I apologize. But with these like hook things and stuff, I don't think you're shooting for fabric. So just make sure it feels like a sculpture or something. And this stuff I'm not saying is right or wrong, I'm just trying to give you the idea. And you can see how that makes it feel like there's intentionality behind that abstract shape, and it feels like it's sort of sculpted. I would do something like that to keep it, because your fabric is back here, and it's very staid, and you know, it looks like a nice banner. But this is two-dimensional for it to really be fabric, so just make sure that you make it not look like fabric. Yeah, so honestly, I think those are really the things I would say. You know, like I said, the snake pattern is the wrong way. Also, just very, very, very rarely would a snake's body go over its neck. So you may want to think about making this come and go under, and then the snake body, you know, the snake head comes over. Very, very rarely are you going to see a snake lay over its own neck. Yeah, here, like these guys feel like they're part of this frame here. So I would make them feel as if they are part of the frame and not just, you know, it can be just slight implications. Okay, Siren, you're killing me, man. You're killing me, chat. Yeah. So make it sculptural, so it doesn't look like fabric. Attach these to the body of this, so they're not just these little heads that are stuck on. I think I would suggest this coming under and the snake head coming over. Sculpt that out some. Get your snake scales going in the right direction. Your fabric looks good. Sharpen up your bark a little on your wood. But it looks good. Looks fine. Yeah. I would say, so we could obviously attach this to this. Yeah. All right. I think that's where we're at. What's next? Are there any questions on this one? Anyone? Fireworks. Rohan, Bromwick, Dagger, High. Now that wasn't that last download, was it? No. Oh, I see. I gotta do this again. Front tools. How come I'm not seeing it? It's right there. In Pixelogic Zip 2. That's a problem. That's Pixelogic Zip 1. Okay. Armor G, Pixelogic Crypt, upload to Pixelogic. Oh, it's zipped. I see. Extract to Pixelogic Crypt 2. I didn't unzip it. Turkey butt. Meow. Meow. I know life's so hard. Meow. Pixelogic Crypt 2. Dagger. Hot. Holy Hannah. Madness. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Frame. Yeah, it looks really good. I like your different textures. It's nice. One thing I would say about your little beading, is this a brush that you used? What I will often do when I'm doing this kind of little beading is I will lay down the brush so you have your spacing. But then I usually come back over with inflate, and I'll literally just go over and tap each one again. And what that does is it raises the bead off the surface a little, and especially if you're planning to go to print, it really helps get, so what you're doing when you do that is when you're doing the brush, you're getting this half round alpha, right? If you come back over and inflate on top of it, what it does is it creates sort of this shape, and you're getting this return right here. That one right there. That one right there. And that gives these edges up off the surface, and if they're polished, it makes them stay a lot more. So if you're going to print it, I would do that, because like on this stuff, you're sort of losing that knurly feeling, and it's also just because it was low res there. But you know, like here, let's take inflate, let's kick this up some, gonna make it just and it just gets that up off the surface a little, and it makes it read a little more. I mean, you can see even from here you're getting a full return on that half round. Hey Waves. Your bone texture looks great compared to your metal texture, compared to your little scaly texture here. Your leather looks good. Only thing I'd say about your leather is, let's get a brush. I'm going to say sharp large fold maybe. And thing is that that's not the right brush. Let's just take clay tubes because I'm lazy. This isn't just going to dent in. There's going to be a little bit of a pinch there. So just don't make it just a dent, because this is still, leather's still functioning sort of like fabric. So you're going to get some folding in there, and it's not going to just be a dent, right? You're probably going to have this outside lip. I'm just dragging stuff up now. Back face masking is turned on. Still just dragging it up. Okay. You know, because that's not being stuck in, and then you're probably going to have something doing just something like that, right? Because it is pinching that leather. It's not just, you know, it's not metal. It's not just going to dent it out. This has something behind it that we're just sucking up to that surface. Oh, and we had symmetry turned on. Sorry. And keep them different, and that'll make it feel a little more organic too. So you could just give it a little variety. It'll feel like it's punched in, not just a dent. ZBrush. We're using ZBrush. I normally, I teach ZBrush for manufacturing, so like for printing and miniatures and jewelry and the such. And my stream is usually broken up where 1 week is critiques, and then the next week is me sort of sculpting on something, and I'll still do, it's still a Q&A format. I'm really not really here trying to get, you know, a sculpture accomplished. I'm really here trying to get information to you guys. So, yeah. Okay. So yeah, the only thing I really see that strikes me is make these bent leather, not just like a dent. And I would punch my little beads up a little bit more just so they're sharp. Because you have so much nice sharp detail in a lot of these textures. Keep your little beading, keep your beading sharp as well. But it looks really good. Yeah, no problem, my brother. Why, are you leaving now too? Okay. Who's next? Does anyone have any questions about that? No, I do not go by Tommy. I have never gone by Tommy. Ever. Never been one of my names. Tomas to Tommy? Nah. That would be no. Nah. See, this is the problem, bringing these things in from you get all these vicarious subtool things. It brings all of them in separately as well. Yep, a lot of people use Blender. I don't. I mean, you know, it's a it's a it's a perfectly competent, good software package. It's not nearly as good a sculpting package as ZBrush is, but like you said, it's free. Are we doing Visme? Yeah. All right. Let's look at our reference here real quick. Interesting. One sec. Oh, I guess we have a model. I was about to zoom in and look at something. It's... Come on. Nope, they're not. Okay, so the one thing about a turbine I would say is that these little fins are blades of a fan, so there would be a twist to them. They're not just flat. Does that make sense? You know, you'd get I guess they're already joined, aren't they? Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's see if we... Well, here. I'll just do it this way. Append. Star. Take my star. Gonna go W. Rectangle. W. Gonna go taper. Wee bit. But we are going to make sure that these stay flat. Right, so you have your turbine, array mesh, turn on array mesh, transpose, lock size, lock position. We want to rotate around the z-axis, 360 degrees. And let's grab a few of these. Let's grab it out. So what you have is sort of this situation, right? But turbines have blades. So your turbine would have something in that vein. They wouldn't just be flat. Okay. And turn array mesh off. Boop. Delete that. We don't need it anymore. Okay. So fans in your turbines. If this were an industrial piece of equipment, I also imagine that you would have a much more stable base. So I would probably say that if you're creating something like a turbine, which is supposed to be a big industrial thing, that's okay. What are you doing? Oh, delete one. Now we're going to drag you out. We're going to turn you into a rectangle. And so I would guess that if you are doing something large and industrial, something like a turbine, you would probably have a very sound, resolute base instead of it being round all the way, because your contact points are down there. Turbines generate a ton of torque. So I would contemplate, you know, how is this thing attaching to the ground? And my guess it would be something in that vein. Right, because now it feels like it's sort of attached to the ground a little bit more solidly. Your line stuff looks really nice. I like your space breakout. Your line stuff looks good. Here again, you know, what's going on with, you know, power cables coming out of it. You know, you probably have a power junction where you do have cables coming out of it and going to something that it's generating power for. So that's something to think about. Because as it stands right now, it sort of looks like a lightsaber on a stand, right? You know, so you want to, if you're trying to get it to look like a piece of equipment, you know, give it some of that equipment-y feel. Yeah. You have, you know, something where you have power coming out of it, make it feel a little bit beefier, because it feels like that's the fan part of it, but it's also generating a ton of electricity. I mean, you know, it's kind of the point of the turbine. So, you know, think about how it attaches to the ground and then in turn how it produces the energy that it's trying to produce. How much time did it take me to sculpt a human body? It depends. I mean, you know, to get one roughed out, maybe, I would say to where it looks like a human body, 45 minutes to 3 hours. Doesn't it say turbine? Am I just hallucinating here? Didn't it say somewhere turbine? Or am I just making turbine up? No, it looks like I might just be making turbine up. Okay, then ignore everything I just said. Didn't it say turbine? Now that's gonna make me nuts. Oh, it says roller. Oh, ignore me. Don't worry about it. It's not a turbine. Don't know what a roller is. But it looks much more like an axle with a roller. I don't know where I got turbine. He's just like, what are you talking about, dude? It's not a turbine. Oh, now that's funny. Okay. I thought I read turbine. Yeah, ignore me. I mean, you know, it looks nice and mechanical. No. I don't know why I thought it was a turbine. Did you say turbine or something earlier? I don't know. I think you said turbine up here. I'm going to check. Can you search that list for the word turbine? Because where did I get the word turbine? I think it's you, Henry. I'm pretty sure. And especially since you're not talking tonight, I think that you're going to have a very hard time. Oh. So there was a word turbine in there somewhere that I just sort of half read, maybe. All right, my bad. It's roller. Roller. So axis and wheels, maybe? I don't see an immediate function. Like roller implies that there are wheels. You have a slit here, so that would be a bizarre tire. I mean, mechanically, sculpturally, you know, you have really nice mechanical, like your paneling and stuff looks good. It keys together interestingly. I don't see function. And that's not a problem. It's just, it's not a turbine. Oh boy. It's too early to be this goofy. All right. Yes, looks good. Who's next, Henry? Are you still here, Mika? I'm just curious. The RAR. You mean this one? I thought we did this one. Alright. This one? Oh, the tarantula. Tarantula. Let's look at our reference material here. Now, I just want you to know it's very dangerous for me to critique this because if I say anything wrong, my business partner will yell at me horribly and say, Tomas, you know nothing. It looks like a very big spider. like the peacock blue feet. I want peacock blue feet. Alright, so let's look at our guy here. What do we have? We have spider butt. Very nice. Now, interestingly enough, I think those black marks are not textural, but they are pigment. So I'm thinking that this stuff sort of feels like you were trying to dimensionalize the pigmentation of the spider. So that might be. Hello.
How are you?
Good. Streaming critiques tonight. Not that you do what you need to do, not a drama. So I'm actually thinking that what you've done here is you've physicalized the pigmentation of the spider, but let us look at so give me some pictures here. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's not. Yeah, here you go. See, you're missing this lime green interior stuff. I don't know. Let's look at this in here. So you can see there's some slight striation to the shell there, or to the, the. That's not real. That's not real. I think it's just hard to tell. I wonder if we can find a shaved Jeez Louise. Come on, guys. Ambulance. I'm not seeing any shaved tarantulas. Let's see. No, I don't want to see that. I want to see the actual ammunal here. Okay, so I'm going to say this. I might get yelled at about it, but I'm going to say this anyway. No, I've been eating well and sort of exercising some, so I shouldn't look horrible. I'm trying to get healthier. So I'm going to say this. I think that you are physicalizing the pigmentation of the thing, and I would be careful with that. So it feels like there's some striations in the carapace-y sort of thing going on here. And if we got Eric online at some point, maybe I can convince him to show up next week for a minute or two. And I bet he can find me some reference about this. But I am thinking that there's a lot less like carapace denting here, and you might get some striations, but you know, these edges are definitely going to be one coming out of the other, right? And because of the hair, it's hard to tell what's happening there. But I'm imagining that without hair, it's actually going to look a little bit more like this, as opposed to things with these deep striations. Oh no, I don't, I didn't take anything bad. Don't worry, my friend. So I think that, because if we look at the carapaces of other spiders, um, you don't see that much like surface detail stuff. I mean, there are some that have horns and things like that, but I'm not seeing that as what's going on here. So I would say that you would probably want to find, let's just do spider anatomy. And look at some images. Let's do this. Spider leg. And see if we can get some pictures in here of some spider legs. That's, give me a big old picture. Let's do this. Spider leg. Get up there, but I want tool size large. So you're telling me this is a big picture? Oh, here it is. Furry little buggers. See, I'm still thinking that that's pigment. Okay, let's try for that picture that had the, yeah, here we go. And that's your spider right there, look at that. You see what I mean? It looks like there might be subtle striations in there, but it doesn't look like big architectural elements. Because see, if we look at any of these, if you're looking down, see what I mean? Like from the side here, I'm not seeing this as an architectural element. It looks like it's pigment. Wow, what is that? That's a tooth. That's awesome. You are a freak, dude. Look at you. Yeah, here. Well, see right there? That could be a slight ridge. But that could also just be fur. Alright, come on. No, I don't want to go through all of that. I just want to see the picture. Yeah, see, so here, these look like these could be, ridging. So I think from the evidence that I have seen up to this point, if there is ridging, it's going to be something like this. And it's going to be a little bit more subtle than what's going on here, right? Because I still feel that most of that detail is pigment, not architecture. Right? You might wind up with a ridge, but I think it's more like transitional planes than it is right, you're getting that ridge from sort of a fold in the carapace as opposed to a big thing sticking out. So it's still mostly a light effect more than it is a big architectural element. But I will check with Eric and see what he says. The body looks good. See, I think the underside is a little bit more where you're really at. You know, these obviously need to be, you know, these are actual intersections, so I would say make sure that they show up as intersections. I like your little teeth. There's something weird going on with his mouth. Your little guy doesn't have the beard. There's that picture that is just the best. Look at that guy's face. That is just awesome. I like that. That's rad. I think we're going to save that picture. I am so making something that looks like that. That is just so cool. Yep. I think that's really where we're at. You know, this looks nice. It's just really tricky to get your hair. Actually, you know what? Bloopatone. I think he has a tarantula. That's still not a tarantula, is it? Can't judge one spider from another. I love that beetle. It's so good. Come on, show me. Yeah, see here. Even on this guy, see your main body parts are still smooth. I'm not seeing big architectural elements. But once again, this is not a tarantula. This is a jumping spider, so they are different. But you can see the model. And if you're going to find someone who's going to be anatomically correct with their insects, bugs, and animals, Eric is anal. So this is my intrinsic thought about it, is that you're probably going to have much more smooth integrated shapes, and a lot of that stuff is fur and color, right? It's not actually raised in there. Yeah. All right. Go, Eric. All right. But all in all, I mean, like, everything looks like it's in the right place and you're getting in the right direction, without a doubt. I would just come up with these feeling like they're actually going into one another and having them be more simple shapes. And then come back in with hair or something like that to create the image that is this stuff, because this stuff would be cutting into the shape, I don't think. Ah, yes, this one. But, I mean, it looks great. You're going well. Well, it's only 10:30. I think you probably do have time for nap if you nap quickly. All right, what do we have here? So if this is a GoZ file, where did this file come from? Your face looks nice. Let's say, once again, in human anatomy, nothing I say means anything about things like this. The ears look a little big, but, you know, I mean, if it's taken from reference or something like that, you know, obviously not. But the ears feel a little big on the face here. The face feels like it's a little small on the head, but once again, you know, if it's from reference, it's from reference. And what I mean by it looks small on the head is this part, if you look at that compared to, you know, this, it just looks a little large. Neck looks a little thick right here. And that may be because the back side of the head's slightly bigger than his face. Because if his face were a little bigger, that would make the ear, you know, not bigger. So maybe his ear isn't too big. Maybe his face feels a little small, if that makes any sense at all. But once again, if it is from reference, then obviously we are all built differently and oddly, so who knows? Your armpit looks good. Your lat intersection looks good. Your tricep into your elbow, into your tremulous. Nope, looks good. Hands look good. Your toes look good. You have an arch in your foot. This, for some reason, over the last couple times, people haven't been putting this into their models, but it's low but good. Your calf anatomy looks good. Does it cross over the right way in the front? It sort of does. Your abdominal muscles are in the right place. I'd say the anatomy is pretty tight. So I'd say everything's in the right place and ready to start to be sculpted. Your proportions are obviously really nice. I just think his face may be a little small. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. You see what I mean? Because, like, your brow line's here, often the brow line's here, eye, cheek, nose, face. Hold on, let's see. Oop. Why is that doing that? That makes no sense. Why are you... Bizarre. Bizarre. I love it when things make no sense. Alright, so let us bring it up just a touch. And then bring... Didn't quite work. Thought I'd come up with an easy thing, but that wasn't it. Alright. But he looks good. I like him. Everything's in the right place. Good going. That's big bumps. Looking good. Alright, who's next? Miko? Miko's next. Miko. I think this is Miko, if I'm not mistaken. Of course it's Miko. It has 300 million parts. Okay. So she's planting on this hip. All right, so let's just talk about a little contrapposto here. Right? She's planting on this hip. This hip should be high. This is bent. This is probably going to rock down.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. All right. Now with that going this way, your shoulders will want to go this way, so you have classic contrapposto. Dropping this down a little, raising that up a touch. So here's what I think. I think, do we have just our torso in here? See, you did, okay. You did her legs and her, see now? This is the danger of splitting up your body or your torso, is you lose a little connect on it, right? I think that, that's, because see what happens here, this becomes just very smooth, right? There's no twist in this torso right here at all, right? And that's because you kind of positioned the upper body, and there's a little bit of a twist there, right? You can see there's something going on there. And there's a little bit of twist to the hips going in the other direction. But because you removed the meat from the abdominal region, you never had to justify that twist. Does that make sense? So you just connected this over it, and you're like, oh, okay, so there it is. You're not having to reconcile the anatomy at this point. And I think that is kind of creating an issue. So let's take this. We are going to merge visible. And, well, come on, why are you? What are you doing? Did I just kill it? Merge. There we go. Okay. So let's just dynamesh this real quick. Did it dynamesh? Oh, it dynamesh. Okay, that was quick. Okay, so what that's allowed to happen here is this. Let's get back to our blocks. Right, our rib cage. And I'm just gonna get rid of this stuff, so we're just dealing with torso at the moment. Now, that's the other thing, actually. Let's get rid of this a little. Now, her torso, I mean, look here, this is the clavicle area, right? So this is sort of a straight line between shoulders. Look at how her breasts are pointing compared to her chest, right? So what is happening there? So see, that's the other funny thing. You're not actually getting contrapposto here, right? She's actually, her hips are leaning in this direction and her shoulders leaning in this direction. And that's what's creating sort of the flat, but there's still twists in the torsos. So what we probably want to do is, okay, I'm just meddling around here for a second, so this might not be what we want to do, but I'm out here guessing. If we bring this forward, we bring that around. This should actually be that brings her torso. Don't you like my precision anatomy here?
Have some.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, I know. I'm magic. Okay. Because she's planting this hip, that hip is going to be high, right? And so the torso then is coming, right? You're being sort of doing that, right? So which then brings this back. I moved her breast around earlier and that weirded me out, so we're going to get rid of those for a minute. But that would be lower, higher. I think I over twisted the torso. So actually it's not that the torso was twisted out too much. It was I think that it's not twisted around too much. I think you just need to do that is going to bring, that's high, that's low, that's higher. You're getting a little bit of twist there, that's up, this is down. This side is stretching, this side is compressing. Okay, so with this rising, hits her rib cage, so you get that compression fold. That's where her hand is. His shoulders down and probably there's something just, this is back, this is up. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Okay, so that's bending, that side's twisting. This hip forward, the shoulder forward. And let me see if that. Shoulders up here. Yeah. Okay, so I think that is more of the issue. Okay. So I know we've mangled this a little bit from where we were coming or going from. But, so I think that this is what was bothering me. That is, if you're planting on this foot, this comes up and is going to tuck in, right? Your ribs are coming here and crossing over. So you're getting that little wrinkle, right? That brings this shoulder down and this shoulder up, right? You're getting a little bit of that contrapposta going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, this side is stretching into that hip, right? So this part of the torso is non-wrinkled. And your abdomen has a slight curve in it there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that brings this buttocks down farther. So this pelvic box is sitting a little bit more like at that angle, right? Because it's coming in here bending, that's coming this way. This is going to be solid, and that's higher, that's lower. And then that is bringing this shoulder back a little, this shoulder forward a little. No, not at the chest at that. Chest is that angle. This was fine where it was, sorry. Sorry, I sculpted her hand in there. I'm like, what is that hump? I'm like, oh yeah. I was saying her hand was there. So, But does that make sense where you're actually putting the twist in the torso, which means you're actually getting this intersection here. So it's not just going to be, wow, it's a ambulance-y kind of night, isn't it? Where did you go? Yeah. But do you see how there's no intersection here? This just kind of droops in. And so that also means you lose the rib cage here. Right?
Mm-hmm. I see, yes.
And then that's going to be where that meat is intersecting. That's coming up. There's your meat. And I just think that this angle right here is just a little backwards. Like this. Oops. Stop. No, stop. Everybody stop. 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 I just think a good contrapposta is going to lower the shoulder. And that's going to give you the compression at this waist.
Mm-hmm.
So where is that, you know?
I just thought that she's stepping lower from the a rock behind her, so the right shoulder should be higher than the left one. But this is a static pose, and I'm wrong for sure.
Yeah, it's just there's no, you know, because you had airspace here, you didn't have to resolve that intersection right there, you know.
Yes.
Um, but other than that, but you see what I mean? Even here, see how rigid this is?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just give her a twist in the body so there's something going on there. And you've sort of twisted the body. That's what's funny. It's just,
In the wrong direction.
yeah. Or, yeah. I think so.
I just made a wrong decision and then made all in accordance with it, at least to the top of the
Yeah, and
body.
it's funny because you sculpted it to see how see how much farther out this breast is than this one. You know what I mean? There's like more distance there. It feels like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny looking at it without the inners, you know. That's not perfect, but I think that that's a little bit more interesting, you know. Getting that, I mean, we're trained to look for that contrapposto pose. It's just how we move, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely try to wrap your head around that. You know, if you're doing it this way, if you're going to pose it separately like this, which I don't mind, you know, but I would make sure that you keep it sort of as anatomical sections, you know, make sure that one is the full rib cage, right? And then I would make sure that you have an extra part, let's drag that down, multiple, delete lower, drag you down, turn you into a ball. And make sure you have, like, just use it like a ball joint doll or something, where you have that internal meat, and then when you have to rectify this, you'll see that there is a meat transition there, you know.
Mm-hmm. The fun thing is that I post the entire body like on the blockout stage without these free spaces, and that just split it
Sure.
to pieces and removed the one that I thought is not needed.
Yeah, yeah.
So mistake was even earlier.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not a horrible one. All right, so let's get back to everybody. I would say that you also probably want a little bit more shoe contact and a touch more bend, because she's, you know, there's still some weight there and you're just barely touching that toe. It's not horrible, actually. Nope, stop that. Come on. Just and it's hard because I've mangled this. Let's go back to the original. Back to the original. Back to the original. Is that everyone back to where they are? The other thing is that, and once again, I think that comes back to dropping this shoulder, because the problem right now is her, you know, her center of balance is pretty good, but it feels like her head's kind of pointing away from stuff, and and I think it might be actually like this area here. It just feels like she's kind of leaning back off center. And that could be because I'm not getting this return of the torso. You know, the torso is not doing this. I think that she wants to well, once you put twist in the torso, it's going to bring this stuff over this way some. Because I feel like that's going to bring your head over here a little bit more, and that's going to get you on your center of balance a little more. So I feel like this stuff should be over here just a little. That opens this arm up more. And you can raise it up so it's a little bit higher. That way you have a little bit more of that. Stop. Why are you making noise?
Shantae, looking around it.
I turn off alarm, my books on tape starts. Weird. Yep, I would say get the torso going. That, and also I think you can probably put the hand up here a little higher, which will open this up a little more. And that'll get this shoulder up more. So when this is lowered, this is pinching. That brings the head over. And that brings it right over your ankle. Yeah, I think that's the issue. But she's looking good.
Just rework everything and all looking good. Yes, thank you very much. I understand all your comments and I will rewatch the recording on YouTube and it helps a lot.
I like your hair towel. Oh, very nice. I mean, like, you know, your anatomy stuff's tight. It's just coming down to getting just a little bit more of that, I think, right? Because this is high. but if you look, this buttocks is actually higher than that one.
Mm-hmm.
So the back, your hips are actually kind of going in the reverse direction. Just little things like that. And I think that every one of those little counter twists brings everything sort of back to straight, if that makes any sense, you know. So it's just like, what's going on there? But I think that's what it is. I do
Yes.
believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have any questions there? Can I-
No, all is cool. Thank you
Well-
very much.
Of course. But it looks great.
And it
It's-
will be even
It's
better
definitely- Yeah.
after all the changes.
Right on, right on. Okay.
Cool, thank you. This is the moment for what I send this sculpture to for your critique. It's very nice to get feedback.
Yeah. It's nice to give feedback. That's all right. So we can put that. Okay, this is you gone. This is the turbine. Wasn't a turbine. God only knows what that is. What are you? Nope, that's our tarantula. We did you, I think. Yes. That is posing. This is warm. That's bug gal. Alright, so now we have a lot of rizzes, and what else? Riz is next. Well, then that answers that one. Alright. Just so you know, they can and will sue you. If you have big spikes on a ring and someone uses this in an act of violence, they can sue you saying that you created an object with a violent intention. So, I'm not saying don't do it. There are plenty of people who make rings that have big old spikes like this. But like, there's a really famous one that says F off, and someone punched someone to the point that their eye ruptured. And they didn't just sue the person swinging, they sued the jeweler. And because yours says sue me, you are recognizing the fact that you have made something that can harm someone, and a lawsuit is something that you're expecting. I know that sounds very convoluted, but I've heard the argument, and so just be very careful selling things that, one, can do dramatic damage to someone, and then two, you are accepting, by saying sue me, you are making a contract with the person purchasing this, that this is expressly used to do something that you could feasibly get sued over. And by saying sue me, you know it. You can't plead ignorance. Like, I have a big ring that has stag horns sticking off of it. You could do tons of damage with that. But nowhere does it say, I'm going to buck your eye out. You know, that's what the name of the piece was. You understand you have intentionality to harm.
I thought it was pretty punk rock. No, I was just messing around with those ones. I was doing the project for the signet rings, and I redid it like a few times just to wrap my head around making the signet ring. So just thought I'd throw those ones in there. But no, but I wouldn't try and sell that. Definitely not.
Well, no,
it's a good point for you to raise.
A lot of
Definitely.
people do make these rings. I mean, you know,
Right.
there are tons of rings that have these big spikes off the front of them, and it's like, F you, or blah, 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 this or that. But in California, there was actually a lawsuit. Skinny Dog, I believe, are the people who made it. And they're snarky, crabby Long Beach guys who someone bludgeoned someone and ruptured their eye with one of the spikes, and they said that you knew that you were making something that would be used to harm someone.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry. This was like the irony behind it. I wanted
oh
to
no,
just
trust
display
me,
the irony.
I get it.
Like, yeah.
I'm not even
So
saying I would
if you're
make-
gonna punch someone in the face with it, you might as well have spikes. Or
Right.
whatever. So.
Oh
yeah.
no, I'm a wholehearted believer in what you were saying. I'm just tossing it out there that you have accepted the fact that you should get sued for
Yeah.
something like novelty use only. Wow, it's really
And not
difficult.
not for finger usage or something
For
like that.
shelf usage only.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We've made this Sumi ring though. I think that I would somehow try to resolve this out so this frames the text a little bit more. Right? Just have that be something that's a little bit more architectural, so it's not just returning to the center, but that you have. Ooh, somebody did something bad. That's 3 cop cars and a helicopter going after them. The sides are looking okay. I would practice just a little bit more and get the weight into this curve.
Originally was trying to do some like Art Deco thing and just kind of went a bit crazy with it and cut it back really a lot. With the design, so I'm not really like too happy with the general design of these ones, I guess. But I was trying to do like a rough kind of like you dropped your ring in the garden for a few months.
Sure.
And
when I'm doing this, I'm not necessarily talking about that broken edge. All I'm saying is that it wound up being very. Your curves were all very much the same thickness. And so you can still have this textured and binged and dinged or whatever. But
Right.
I would say make sure that you have transitional thickness, right? So,
okay,
right, this is fat up here, and then this is thinner, and then this is fatter here. And with flourishes and curves, I always say think of them as like clown balloons that have water in them. And if you start doing this with it, it'll start to get gravity. So instead of your curves just doing this, right? That's a frame, it's nice, it works. But I find that if you're doing this, once again, it's sort of like contrapposto, right? You're here, the gravity's winging it this way, now the gravity's ringing it this way, and it's going like that. So you're getting this shift of gravity in your curves. And that's what makes nice dynamic curves, right? Because there's motion in it, there's weight to them. So even if you're just doing something that's supposed to be beat up and stuff, unless it's supposed to be like a flat frame, and this is definitely a flourish. So I would just make sure that you have, wow, that's 8 and 9. You know, a lot of cops. Somebody doing something bad. 10.
I need to just sit down one day and just try and copy some architecture flourishes and maybe get into the habit of, you know, the way that it flows and everything
Without a
like that.
question. Without a question. It's good to do.
Yeah.
Because then you'll start to apply some of that, because a lot of the architectural elements based on real geometry, you know what I mean, the percentage changes and this and that, I mean, it's all math. And so if you just train your hand and eye to see the relative proportions, you'll start making more compelling curves, you know, because
Yeah.
it's just a thing, you know. The human brain wants to see specific things, and yeah, it's like, all right, well, give it to them, you know. But yeah, once you get your weight, you know, you can come back in and mangle this up and do whatever it is you wanted to do. Where?
I think it was black acid. It's like a black acid patina. I don't know if that's like a regular, normal thing or.
I have too many brushes open right now. I have like 3 or 4 different brush packs that I've been playing with, and right, so you can distort it, twist it, and make it chippy, but it still has the weights. You know what I mean? You still have that transition.
Yeah.
And I know that might be too melodramatic in the crunchiness, but
like you say, you can just go over it with a polish then, can't you? Or an SK trim or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Did you try the polish brush I sent you by any chance?
Which one was it?
Whichever one was the one I sent last time. It's like a similar brush to SK trim, but
Yeah, I think
it's not as like strong. It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
quite
no,
like
it's
it.
yeah, no, it's pretty good. I agree. No, I did use it. Just so you know, I mean, why I asked that. So, I've been looking for some specific brushes, and I just opened them all. Look at how many brushes I have in here right now. So that's a hard question right now. I'm like, wow, I have too many brushes. But I'm looking for some specific brushes that were doing some specific things, so I just kept opening entire brush packs instead of just grabbing the 2 brushes out of them that I needed. So right now I have an excess of brushes. But yes. All right. So yeah, I would just say work on your curve weights.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely practice those. It's on my to-do list.
And then what do we have here? Desire.
And I had the Marilyn Manson song in my head all day. You know, it's like, this is the diff's desire, like. And I was like doing this, and I didn't know what to put there, so I was like, I don't know, I'll just put that. But I wanted to ask you actually about the text, because I mean, I'm not really sure like the best method for it. Like, I don't know, do you just cut in, or you know, like, is there a recommendation you have or anything for that?
Well, let's look at what we have here.
It's not very good, to be honest. It was very quick.
Normally, the brush that I use for cutting stuff in like this is, where are you? SK Carve, or is it SK Carve? I can't even remember. SK Carve. And the only reason I use this one is because it has a flat bottom. The silhouette. So if we look at your D here, and then let me do this
Giggity.
distance. Oh, that's trim polish, that is. So do you see how that has a pretty flat bottom and fairly sharp edges?
Yeah.
So that becomes a much nicer, clean, dark space, if that makes any sense. So if we come back in, and I'm just going to kind of go over. The other nice thing about it is that it's not a build-up brush. So if you come in and you stroke through it, and then you want to come back here and make this a little wider, see how it's not digging in? It's sort of a layer brush.
Right.
So that way you can come in here and sort of futz with the thicknesses, and you can get your edge, and then in there. And now when you sulfur that whole thing is going to be dark.
That looks much better, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that just allows you to kind of get in there and
本当にです。
right.
あ、お疲れ様です。はい。
Oop. You had symmetry turned on.
あ、なるほど、わかりました。
Not really sure what my intention was with this one. It's just sort of a bit of chaos, and again, just trying to capture that sort of random, kind of grungy, dirty kind of layer system thing. I don't know.
No, I think your layers are actually looking pretty good, honestly.
Oh, I just noticed this is the old one, actually.
Hmm?
I just realized this is the old one,
Is there
not the updated one. It's not too different. It's actually, it doesn't matter too much. The updated one had some changes to the kind of mouth stretching area thing.
So there's.
Oh, it's this one. Yeah, this one.
Or this one.
No, the other one you were just on.
Okay, so that was the one we were working on.
Yeah, it's just some changes there. I didn't really like the way it was stretching.
Yeah, no, I think that you're at least starting to get the tension. The whole point of the stretching stuff is getting that tension. So, and I would say that you're definitely getting there.
Oh, it is. Sorry, the other one. I guess the time delay. I'm looking at what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Sorry.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So I would just say, here, I do like these shapes a little better, right? Because you have them going, but I do think that there's still a little, like here, they're a little cable-y, right? In the sense of this is the same. You get a little flare down here, but these are all almost the exact same thickness. And so here, let's make sure we turn symmetry off. And I will just work on one of these sides. Low res. I'm going to just do a quick smooth. No, I think I turned symmetry back on. I didn't turn it off. Turn symmetry off. Lower res. Everybody calm down. Okay. Nope, higher res. Okay. So we're going to take our first piece of stretchy meat, and it's going over your tooth, and then you're getting a little tension, and then sort of like I'm taking this like sort of lions or that big cat sort of jaw thing going on. You're getting that little meat in there. Okay, so that's your first line of tension. So now okay, So we're going to kind of define our beginnings, our anchors. All right. Now, did you have that connected? No. Okay. So this is its own thing. I'm just going to resolve this shape just so we're not confusing it with any of our stretchy stuff, but we can still give this a little tension. So you see I'm making it wider there, and then it's coming back to something thinner. So I try to avoid, unless I want it to look very architectural and very sturdy or solid, or, you know, if I'm trying to sell that this is a brick building, I will use same size lines, right? Because you don't want motion in it. You want it to be stable and structural. But if you change the thickness of these lines, you're now giving motion, right? There's just an intrinsic motion. You're going from thinner to thicker.
Yeah.
And you can see that instantly gives this whole intersection just a little bit more tension. But this is not. Here we are. So how many of these little guys you have? You have 3 coming down and 1 going up. Okay, so once again, let's start with our big frame first. We're going to take this lip thing. We're going to come in, give it a little weight here. And once again, this isn't right or wrong. I'm just finding moments, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm learning here, so.
And, you know, I'm just always thinking about sort of rubber bands, right? All this is like wide rubber bands that have, you know, where is the tension of the object? All right, so.
This is why I like getting feedback from you, because it's not just about sculpting, it's about like the philosophy and kind of the thought process behind it.
And so I'm going to have that weight going down under this plane, and then instead of a straight line, I'm thinking of it as a triangle because it has tension. And then we'll probably spin just a little bit off here and kind of imply some there. Okay, so we're going to keep this part kind of simple because it's a framing part, right? And just try to give it a little tension. And the other thing is you want to make sure from these views that tension makes sense, right? It looks good as an image, but does it make sense as tension? So now I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to make sure that this is coming down, sort of getting fat there. And I just want tension in my curves. And there's that little hump. Humps do not imply tension. Humps imply humpy. All right, so that's a pretty good base frame, right? You can feel it kind of. And sort of like when we were talking about the torso and contrapposto, these weight curves, you know, are sort of contrapposto. One's going one way, the other's going the other. It gives you a nice balance, something for the eye to look at. All right, so. All right, so we sort of have our structure in there. So now, these are parts of the mouth, right? There's tension. So these are going to come and sort of do that. can see I'm coming back, and I'm looking at this sort of at a steep angle, so I'm making sure that there aren't big humps in that surface, so there's tension in it. And now we're going to look at here. Yeah, okay, we're going to bring you back. You're going to come down, but we're also going to bring you back here. Okay. So now that gives us a little bit of rhythm about what's happening with this mouth. Because you have it just coming. Because see, if this is pulling here, then you would see, you know, this doing this, like, and normally this is a tight piece of, like, if you think about how lions and snakes and stuff, how they open their mouths, if that's wide open, that's the tightest part of that mouth, right? You know, this meat right here is tight. So I probably wouldn't have anything connecting to it that's that big of an architectural or tension generating thing, right? And so it's coming around, and that is that lion, big cat mouth, meaty tension stuff. And so now we're going to come here, we're going to come out here, and that. Gonna come up and under there. And now let us grab. Let's just use standard. And let's think about what's happening here. It's coming around, so you're heavy there. Coming over. And kind of heavy there. Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out my surface rhythms. So that's sort of getting, you know, some of that tension in. And now we come in and you sort of, you can.
Yeah, I like the tapered effect as well.
Right, because it's coming in, it's anchoring, and then, you know, you're getting that, it spreads out at the end. That gives this like that sort of pinchy meat being stuffed up over the lip, and then, you know, this stuff comes down. Now this angle, you know, as on yours, I just made this angle a little too straight. These things should probably come back, you know, where it's a little bit more at an angle there. These sort of straightened out a touch, but for what we're doing at the moment, I think we're okay. Right, and then you can start to really get in and kind of just, you know, you can have stuff from like this cheek coming in, and that, you know, could be an anchor point there. You know, that's some of the stuff that's under that. You know, you could play with and getting your cross-cutting textures in sort of as such. I don't know. Something in that vein, maybe. Something to think about. Once again, these are not the best solutions because I'm not really working them out too much, but this is also just scooped in. This should have surface tension, right? I scooped all that out, but and see how instead of just letting it fall in that line where you know, I can only say we're putting tension in it so many times without everyone going, all right, dude, we get it. Let me guess, you're putting tension in it, right?
Do you think I was hoping that, well, I was kind of envisaging what it would look like, what it would be. So I decided it's probably a black diamond. But is that bit right now kind of achievable? Like, can they sort of, you know, put it in between the teeth like that realistically, or would I have to?
No, you can realistically do it, but how I would do it is I would find you sort of have a nice line here. So what I would probably do is yeah, let's say make that a separate piece. Get the diamond, have it seat, and then have this just sort of close down and pinch over it. Does that make
Right.
sense? And then that, and you know, when you're doing this, you just kind of design. All right, we're going to take.
Would they sort of? How would they like stick it together, basically?
I would just like find a couple point like let's say like right here. You know, let's say this is the plate that you're putting over it, but you have these two kind of openings right here and here. This just snaps on, and then they would just laser weld there, and like maybe there. You know, just give it a few places for them to just laser weld it on, and then that way that structure can just sort of snap over the stone.
And then when they polish it, it sort of blends in with each other?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, right.
Because, you know, if you make it like that, and let's say you have wrong direction, you know, something like that right there, right, you can easily just, you know, that's part of the design, so you could easily hide the fact that this is a separate piece, you know. Solder it some, it'd fill in, right, and then when you polish it, it's going to get polished together, and then you won't even notice that. And then that allows you to get in here and have this be a really tight, perfect seat, and then this just snaps right on top.
Okay.
Or you could hollow this all the way out, you know, where this is hollow, where the stone will fit all the way up into it. And you can have sort of prongs here or tabs. They bend over the back, and then put a gallery in here. You know, you could feasibly set it from behind.
Right.
But I think I would probably do it with a snap-on front.
Okay.
Just because I like that. It fits better. The whole thing looks a little bit more finished. You know, you could feasibly do it in two metals. You know what I mean? Let's say you want it the inside to be, you could get really clever, do these in white gold, you know, do this in pink gold, just have them assemble the teeth on the part, so you have yellow gold, white gold, and pink gold, and this would be easy to assemble separate, snap on, and now you can do multiple metal stuff. That's pretty cool.
Have you ever worked with it's like marble, I can't remember the name, like reprocessed marble or something. I had a tab open with it, and now I've lost it now. Where did it go?
You mean as a gemstone?
No, just it's like instead of using metal. Where did I? Why? What?
Are they pressing? Is it like a ceramic clay that you're pressing into a mold? How are you using it?
Sorry, I shouldn't have asked you. I thought I had the tab open. I'll need to find the. No, it's not that one. Okay, I found. I'll send you an example if it's okay on Twitch chat.
Yeah, please do.
It's like bonded marble. There we go. That's pretty interesting.
Is this the same thing?
They seem to mix it on a few of their other designs. They've mixed it with metal as well.
It's probably a marble imbued resin, because it looks like they're pressing it into molds. I mean, they're obviously molding it. They're huge rings. That's a monster. Hold on, let's see.
You couldn't wear 5 of them.
You could. Bonded marble jewelry. How to make?
If you use a casting house like Rio Grande, for example, and you like specify to them, you know, you want this like this and this like this, and they'll just put it together for you, or would they sort of ship it in separate parts, or like what?
The
It
manufacturer
depends on
safety
who
instructions.
you're
This is
using.
really important not to breathe it in, so make sure you wear them. What I do is add my stuff. So I've used it
it's
here,
just a resin.
and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's come out quite nice.
Okay.
I think
So it's a resin
really
with
nice.
ceramic.
That's what you think of those. I hope you buy me a coffee. They're really, really pretty.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. Let's see what they're doing.
This is the Ascension harness, an all-in-one dog harness designed to replace all other harnesses.
All-in-one dog.
Hi, Rob here from your museum store.
Hi, Rob.
That's a good. It's used frequently in everything from head on to marble, which has the look of true marble. And if you have marble count, it look like real stone and stone. Now here this
Yeah, it
mold
is
is
pretty.
then filled with the resin composite, or painted by hand to create a replica of Rodin's
a
cathedral.
resin composite.
It's a step really fascinating.
It's
Finished in bronze, and it
it's
has a
a
nice
marble
natural look to
imbued
it,
resin.
and the detail on the work is
Right.
That makes sense. Because it looks like resiny. Interesting. They're not cheap, are they? I mean, not that 165 bucks is expensive, but for resin, that seems like a. That's why you call it bonded marble and not resin. Yeah, here's my plastic ring with marble dust in it. Or
Here is my
marble.
less soup, meaning vegetable soup.
Exactly. And it's interesting because they're just plating them. So they're plating the marble. Interesting. Or the resin.
Mm.
Man,
I just never really saw anything like that before and thought it looked pretty interesting.
Well, that's where William Chen, the guy who did the titanium stuff that I showed, he invented a ceramic that is it? No, it's not William. I can never remember his name. I do this every time. It's Wallace, not William. And so he does mind-bending titanium cast stuff. But he invented this ceramic, and it's actually a ceramic that I guess they say is unbreakable. But if you'll notice, he's not doing anything really high resolution with it.
Mm.
So I think that the firing of it and such, I mean, he's getting sort of these patterns out of him, but you can see how everything's still pretty soft. He's not.
Is he doing that because that's his design choice, or is it limited to the material?
My guess is that it's limited to the material, and the only reason I guess that is because if you look at the tenor of this work, all of the detail is in the titanium. Right? You know, like this. See how soft all this is?
Mm.
But, you know, he's getting the sharpness. But it's resolute enough that it's going to create enough tension that those can act as prongs. You know, so the stuff is obviously harder than Hejibas. But, you know, when he gets into detail, you know, and he's obviously a detail monkey. I mean, look at this stuff. You know, but the ceramics, even like this stuff, you can see that it's soft, right? You know, it doesn't have sharp, crisp edges.
Mm.
So I can only imagine its firing process or something. Now they do print ceramics. And a lot of this really started out in the aerospace industry. But there's an Italian company that that's a Formlabs printer. But see, even here, how it's not like it's super detailed. These are the ones. These were what was successful ceramics coming off of the Formlabs printer, and you can see that it's all still pretty soft. It's not really detail oriented. Because I wanted to do the Green Man in it, and they have pictures of the Green Man, but it wasn't fired yet. Here you go. But that's the ceramic. Come on, dude. Like, that's my Green Man printed in the ceramic. Stop. Why does it always gotta be
Oh,
like that?
nice. Is that the new one that you've done, or is that the older one?
No, that's the old one.
Right.
Because that was when they were prototyping the ceramic resin.
I see.
But I really love like the teacup stuff. I'd love to print those teacups I did in the ceramic. But I guess it's pretty brutal on your machine, so I'm not going to try it until we get the new printer set up. Then I might try it, because if it sloshes, it's not going to kill me. Okay. Does this one have a better picture of it? Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. But you can see that there's still a lot of bumpy texture. There's still a lot of...
There's a lot of texture. It's just funny how it was your really intricate head sculpt, and then it was like an octopus with its V fingers up.
Yeah, so now this is the company Prodways. Fine, I'll just accept your cookies, I don't care. They actually bought, Prodways purchased Solidscape, if I'm not mistaken. But their 3D ceramic printer, you know, it's at least getting sharp edges. And that's robust ceramics. It was actually designed for the aerospace industry, is where the printer sort of came from. And you can see here, that's one of those circles inside a circle, inside a circle, inside a circle. So they're getting, you know, some pretty resolute they're getting some pretty tight ceramic sculpt prints. But I think this is an insanely expensive printer, if I remember correctly. Yeah, see, these are actually designed for dental. So it's doing ceramic pieces that are bio-safe. It's cool stuff.
Mm.
But once again, I think these are like $250,000. I don't think these are
bargain.
Right. Is the Pure Crafts the ceramic? Yeah, I can't remember which one it is, but sexy. One day, right? One day.
One step at a
Hey,
time.
no problem, Rohan. What's that?
One step at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing after the other.
I'm just trying to get my lasers in now. We need to get the floor done so I can get my lasers. You guys are going to be so excited when I start streaming from the shop, because we have some cool stuff coming. All right. Did you have another ring, or was that?
There was one more, but it's up to you if you want to do it or not. It was really just a bonus.
Sumi. So was it? These were just different.
It's probably not there. It doesn't really matter then. It's fine.
Okay.
I can just. Are you doing office hours tomorrow?
I will be gone for the first couple hours, but I'll definitely be back by lunch.
Okay. I'll try and. I'm gonna try and wake up early tomorrow and maybe catch the end.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'll definitely be there towards the end.
Okay.
We just have to go look at. There's a pre-constructed second floor, like sort of shelving balcony thing, and we want to put, you know, a second floor into the space. But if we construct it, you have to deal with zoning and codes and this and that. But if it's a pre-construct industrial one, you just put it up and they view it as like just a very big bookcase, you know. So
Right.
we're going to go look and see if we can get that, because the construction, they were saying it's going to be like $90,000 to $150,000 to build a second floor, where if we can get this thing for 12 grand, it's going to be well worth all of that.
Sounds like a big task.
Right. Keep your fingers crossed that it's exactly what we need. $12,000. Woo. All right.
Yeah. Thank you again, as always.
Of course, my friend. Super fun. Enjoyable. Where are we at, Henry? Oh, it's 11:59. It's midnight. Look at that. Woo! On the nose.
Just on time.
Bam. Right? Couldn't plan that better. All right. Kind and gentle folk, it was lovely to see your work this week. And next week, we're sculpting, I guess, unless there are a trillion billion. Like for a while there, we had a hard time getting all of our parts done. And I mean, I was still streaming long hours. I think, you know what, Henry, I really do think that that 1:30 until like that 5:36, that's why we had so many, because that time frame doesn't get any ZBrush streaming at all. So I think that once we stopped going that late, we stopped getting that huge stockpile of models. Or is it that just people are sick of what I have to say about things? Remember that girl who yelled at me for saying that you need to sculpt in layers? She goes, "That's all you ever say." And I'm like, well, if you started sculpting in layers, I wouldn't have to say it again, would I? Meh. All right. Thank you, everyone. I greatly appreciate your time and energy. Thank you, Pixelogic, for allowing us to stream. If you are on YouTube, hit like and subscribe and hit that little bell, and that'll tell you when we're streaming. Check out the other streamers. If you don't own ZBrush, buy ZBrush, because it is awesome sauce. Look at ZBrush Jewelry Workshop. We teach people how to use this program. Woohoo! You can learn too. Oh, look at the store. Yeah. Woo! Did I remember everything? Looks that way. Okay. Once again, everybody have a lovely week. I will see you next week. Students, I will see you tomorrow. I won't be in first thing in the morning because I have to go look at that thing. All right. I think that's everything. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you soon. Stop.